It was a busy morning at the cafe. I had 3 cappuccinos carefully belenced on a tray, walking carefully to deliver them to the customers at table 7. I was focusing so hard on not spilling the drinks that I didn't notice my phone buzzing until I saw my dad's name on the screen. That made me freeze. My heart began to race. Dad never called me while I was at work. We had a deal. He would only call me after my shift ended, but seeing his name on my screen made me nervous. I knew something had to be wrong. I quickly tucked the phone between my ear and shoulder, trying to stay calm. "Hello," I said, setting the tray of cappuccinos down. But it wasn't my dad's voice that answered. It was my stepmother, Elena. Her voice made my stomach twist with unease. "Hey, dear," she said in her sweet but fake tone. "I hope I'm not interrupting anything important." "I'm at work," I said quickly, trying to sound calm, even though my heart was pounding. "Is everything okay with Dad?" "Oh, your father is fine," Elena said, pausing for a moment. I could practically hear her nails tapping against the kitchen counter. "I'm actually calling about the monthly support payments." I felt my stomach drop. The money my dad sent me every month was what kept me afloat. It paid for rent, utilities, and part of my tuition. It was the only way I could stay in college and off campus. Without it, I didn't know how I'd manage. "Are they okay? Is something wrong?" I asked, trying to stay calm, though I could feel panic creeping up on me. "Well, dear," Elena continued, her voice almost too sweet, "we've had some unexpected expenses come up. Your father and I have discussed things, and we've decided that it's time for you to become more independent. The payments will stop at the end of this month." I stood frozen, trying to process her words. The cappuccinos on table 7 were getting cold, but I couldn't focus on that. The payments were my lifeline. How was I going to survive without them? "Did Dad agree to this?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "Of course he did," Elena said smoothly. "He's very proud of how responsible you've become. We both think you're ready to handle things on your own." I could feel my frustration rising, but I tried to keep my voice steady. "Can I talk to Dad?" "He's in meetings all day," she said, her tone softening, almost as if she were trying to comfort me. "He's very busy, you know, and we would really appreciate it if you didn't bother him about this. He's under enough stress as it is." Before I could say anything else, the call ended. I stared at the phone in my hand, feeling my heart race and my hands begin to shake. My co-worker, Milo, noticed me standing there and came over. "You okay?" he asked, his brow furrowed as he saw the expression on my face. "You look like you've seen a ghost." "I'm fine," I said quickly, though my voice cracked. I forced a smile, but it felt like I was lying to him and to myself. "Yeah, I'm fine." Milo didn't look convinced, but he stepped back and gave me space. "Take 5 minutes," he said. "I'll cover your tables." I nodded, my head spinning. I went to the break room and sat down, my mind racing. Even with my cafe job, I didn't have enough money to pay rent next month. I pulled out my phone and started doing some quick math. Rent, utilities, tuition. Everything seemed impossible without the support payments. I felt like I couldn't breathe. I splashed cold water on my face, trying to clear my head. When I looked in the mirror, I saw a different person staring back at me. I felt like a stranger, someone who was about to lose everything. Elena had done this. She'd always been the one making decisions in our family for the past 3 years. She had taken control of everything, and now it seemed like she was trying to take away the last bit of security I had. I felt something different in me now. Anger. I had always tried to play along, tried to keep things calm, but not anymore. If she wanted me to be independent, I'd show her what that really meant. But first, I needed to figure out what was really going on with my dad's finances. Why had Elena been so quick to stop the payments? And why was she so eager to stop me from talking to my dad? I took a deep breath and pulled my hair back into a ponytail. I straightened my apron and walked back to the floor. I still had 4 hours left in my shift, and I was going to use that time to start figuring things out. That evening, I was at home, going through old photos on my laptop when my phone buzzed. It was Nina, my best friend. "Please tell me you're not still obsessing over those photos," she said when I picked up the call. "I'm not obsessing," I said, though I couldn't stop clicking through the images. I paused on a photo of my dad and me at my high school graduation. We were both grinning so big. I looked like I was going to burst from happiness. I missed those days, before everything got so complicated. Nina sighed on the other end. "Okay then, but you need to focus on moving forward. Listen, I talked to my roommate. She's moving out next month to live with her boyfriend. Her room is yours if you want it." I was silent for a moment. Moving in with Nina would solve my housing problem, but it felt like admitting defeat. It felt like proving Elena right, that I couldn't handle things on my own, but I needed to think about it. "I don't want to impose," I said finally. "You're not imposing," Nina replied quickly. "I'd rather have you as a roommate than some stranger. Plus, you make the best coffee in town. It's a win-win." I laughed, though it didn't feel very funny. "I'll think about it," I said. "Well, think fast," Nina said. "The semester starts in 3 weeks, and I need to know if you're in or not." I paused, and then she added, "Oh, and speaking of school, have you checked your student account lately?" I felt a chill run down my spine. "No, why?" "There's some issue with the financial aid office. They're asking for extra documents. Everyone is getting emails about it." I felt my stomach drop. I quickly logged into my student account and saw the message. They were asking for updated bank statements, tax returns, and my dad's financial information. I stared at the screen, panic starting to set in. How am I supposed to get that? I muttered, more to myself than to Nina. "You'll have to tell your dad," Nina said. "If you don't, you won't get the financial aid you need." "I can't," I said, feeling the pressure building in my chest. "If I tell him, Elena will twist everything. She'll make it look like I'm ungrateful or like I'm trying to cause problems." I didn't know what to do. Just then, I got another call. Dad's name flashed on the screen. My heart skipped a beat. "I have to go," I said quickly to Nina. "Dad's calling." I answered the phone, my heart still racing. "Hey, Dad." "Princess." "How's my favorite daughter?" he asked, his voice full of affection. "I'm your only daughter," I said, trying to keep the conversation light, even though my mind was racing. "Right," he laughed. "Well, listen, Elena mentioned she talked to you about the finances. I hope you're doing okay." "I'm fine," I said, trying not to sound upset. "I understand." Good, Dad said. "You know I'm proud of you, right?" "Thanks, Dad," I said quietly. "I've got to go. Early shift tomorrow." I ended the call and sat there for a long time, staring at the dark screen of my phone. I was so confused. I wanted to believe my dad, but something in his voice had sounded off. I couldn't just ignore what Elena had said about stopping the payments. I had to find out more. The next day, I decided to go through some old things in my room at my dad's house. They were supposed to be gone to a charity lunch, so I had the house to myself. As I sorted through my old things, I heard voices coming from the backyard. It was Elena and Dad. "The market's been good to us," Elena said. "We could easily get another $100,000 out of the investment account." I froze. Investment account? Dad had always said he didn't have an investment account. He always kept his money in checking and retirement accounts. What was going on? I crept closer to the window and listened. "We need that money," Elena was saying. "The contractor needs a deposit by Friday if we want to start the renovation next month." "Renovation?" Dad asked. "I thought we were saving that money." "We are," Elena said smoothly. "But we also need to upgrade the car. You don't want your daughter driving an old beater, do you?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. They were talking about spending money on renovations and cars, while I was barely scraping by. I couldn't take it anymore. I ran out of the house, making a beeline for Nina's place. "I know what's going on," I said when I arrived. Dad has an investment account, and he's been hiding it from me. Nina's eyes widened. That's messed up. I need to find proof, I said. I need to show him what Elena's doing before it's too late. That evening, I went to Dad's office when he wasn't home. I used the old password to log into his accounts and found what I was looking for. Money had been transferred from the savings account to Elena's account. It wasn't just one transfer either. It had been happening for months. I quickly closed the laptop as I heard them coming back. I had the proof, but what was I going to do with it? I carefully folded the paper and put it in my laptop case. If I went to see him now, Elena would just make up some story about protecting money for my future, or something like that. My phone buzzed with a message from Milo. Your stepmother is here, ordering your usual fancy lattes. I sat up straighter. Elena never came to my side of town unless she wanted something. The cafe was just 2 blocks away. I have to go, I said, grabbing my shoes. Ivy grabbed my arm. Wait, what are you going to do? She asked. Nothing. I just need to see something, I replied. The walk to the cafe felt like a big challenge. Through the window, I saw Elena sitting at my usual table with Cord, and her designer handbag was in the chair where I usually sat. Milo saw me and gave me a small nod when I walked in. Elena's voice was loud enough for people to hear. What a lovely surprise. Join me. Some customers turned to look as I walked over to her table. Elena smiled, but I could see her fingers gripping her cup tightly. I was just telling your charming co-worker about our renovation plans, she said as I sat down. Your father is so excited about the new kitchen. I bet he is, I said, trying to sound normal. Must be expensive. Oh, you know how these things are. She waved her hand. But we're being careful with money. Speaking of that, she leaned forward and lowered her voice. I noticed you were in the house yesterday when we came home. My heart skipped a beat, but I looked right at her. Just getting the last of my things, I said calmly. Elena took a sip of her latte, leaving a lipstick mark on the cup. Your father said something interesting this morning. His computer showed some strange activity yesterday. The room suddenly felt cold. Milo was pretending not to listen. Really? I said, trying to sound calm. Elena smiled, but it wasn't a nice smile. We changed all the passwords, of course, just to be safe. You understand, right? I stood up, my chair scraping the floor. Is that all? She reached into her bag and pulled out an envelope. Actually, I brought you something. A little housewarming gift. Inside the envelope was a check for $5,000. Consider it a fresh start, she said softly. A chance for you to prove you can be independent without poking into things that don't concern you. The check burned in my hands. $5,000 was enough to pay for my school and even buy some books. All I had to do was take the money and walk away. That's very generous, I said, slowly putting the check on the table. But I think I'll stick with my plan. What plan? Elena's voice was colder now. You'll see, I said, standing up. As I walked away, I heard the sharp click of her heels. Your father won't believe you, she called. He never does. I stopped at the door and turned to look at her face, all calm and perfect. We'll see about that, I said. Outside, the sun was bright, and it hurt my eyes. My phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. Smart girl, but this won't end well for anyone. Think about your father. I took a screenshot of the message before blocking the number. Elena thought she was scaring me, but she had just made a big mistake. She showed me that she was scared. Now, I just needed to figure out why. I found the first letter while helping Milo sort through old mail at the cafe. It was addressed to my dad from his works accounting department. My hands were shaking as I put it in my pocket. You know, that's a federal crime, right? Milo said, but his voice wasn't accusing, just adding to my list of crimes. I tied my hair back, getting ready for the busy morning. Did you know Elena has been coming in here every day this week? Milo asked. She always comes when you're not here. asking about your schedule, your friends. It's kind of weird. Why didn't you tell me? I asked. Because your dad came in yesterday, Milo said. He looked awful, like he hadn't slept. He kept asking about you, if you seemed okay, if you needed anything. That made my stomach twist. My dad never came to the side of town unless he had to, and he never asked strangers about me. During my break, I opened the letter. Inside was a notice about unauthorized changes to Dad's retirement account. The money had been moved all to one person, Elena. Just then, my phone buzzed with a message from Ivy, 911. Your stepmom's at our apartment. I almost dropped my phone. What? Why? I texted. She says she's dropping off more of your stuff, but she's just sitting there asking about your classes and study habits. It's creepy. Don't tell her anything. I'm on my way. I texted back. Wait, what else? She mentioned your mom, Ivy replied. My heart skipped a beat. What about her? She said your dad is still paying off your mom's old medical bills, Ivy said. That didn't make sense. Mom's insurance had paid for everything. I even helped with the paperwork. Get her out of there. I texted. I don't care how. Just make her leave. Milo suddenly appeared, holding a fancy envelope. She left this for you this morning. She said it was important. I opened the envelope. Inside was an invitation to Dad's work holiday party next month. There was a note in fancy handwriting from Elena. Family should stick together. Last chance to make the right choice. I need to leave early, I said, crumpling the invitation. I already talked to my boss. Milo grabbed my bag from under the counter. Before you go, there's something you should see. He pulled up a photo on his phone from one of Dad's colleagues. It was of Elena at a charity event, wearing a diamond necklace that looked just like the one Mom used to wear. Isn't that your mom's? Milo asked, zooming in. I felt my vision blur. That necklace had been my grandmother's, passed down to Mom. Dad had kept it safe in his office after she died. He promised it would be mine one day. She's not just stealing money, I said quietly. She's taking everything. What are you going to do? Milo asked. I stared at my phone as it buzzed with a call from Dad. I didn't answer. Another message came from Ivy. She's going through your room, looking for something specific. I could feel the letter about the retirement account in my pocket. Elena was getting desperate, and desperate people make mistakes. I'm not answering, I said, turning off my phone. Milo warned me. I know what I'm doing. Well, tell Elena I'll be at the holiday party, I said. Then what? I thought about Mom's necklace, the money being moved, and Dad's tired face asking strangers if I was okay. Then I made a plan. I'll show everyone who Elena really is, I said. I grabbed my bag and headed for the door. My phone buzzed again, with another message from an unknown number. You're just like your mother. She didn't know when to stop either. The threat was clear. But Elena had made a big mistake. She mentioned Mom's medical bills. I knew better than anyone that those bills didn't exist. The hospital records had been erased from the system. I sat in my old volunteer coordinator's office, staring at the empty computer screen. I'm sorry, Lena, Clara said. I don't know what happened, but the records from your mom's day should be here. She looked at the screen helplessly. It's like they were never there, she added. When was the last system update? I asked. Clara checked her calendar. 3 months ago, she said, right after the new privacy rules were added. The same time Elena started redirecting your dad's money. I clenched my fists. Elena had erased everything, but I would make sure the truth came out. I had been talking to Nina about my mom's medical bills when my phone rang again. It was Dad calling for the 4th time today. I ignored it, just as Nina sent me a text. She said the police had just left our apartment. Someone had called them about suspicious activity. The bright lights in the office suddenly felt too bright, and everything seemed too small. I thanked Clara and said I needed to go outside. The cold November wind cut through my jacket. I had spent the whole weekend looking for proof of what Elena was doing with my dad's money. Bank statements, insurance papers, anything I could find. But Elena was quick, erasing everything I found faster than I could uncover it. Then my phone rang again. It was Milo this time. "She's here," he said, without saying hello. "At the cafe with your dad." My heart dropped. What? What are they saying? They're asking about you. They're saying you've been acting strange lately. Elena is showing him something on her phone, texts or emails, he explained. I thought about all the things I had tried to find. My efforts to uncover the truth were making Elena look good. She was waiting for me to do all these things so she could turn them against me. Milo continued, "Don't go back to your apartment. She took your laptop." "What?" I gasped, feeling sick. All my screenshots, bank statements, everything was on that laptop. "She says you've been acting unstable, obsessed with conspiracy theories about her," Milo said. "She's telling your dad all of this." I leaned against a wall, feeling dizzy. "What did Dad say?" "He believes her," Milo said. "She's got him convinced." My phone suddenly went black. Then a new text from an unknown number appeared. "Check your bank account," it said. I was shaking as I opened the app, only to find that all my money was gone. There were notes saying the transactions were pending investigation. I felt like I couldn't breathe. Without that money, I couldn't pay for school, buy food, or even get home. Another text from Olivia came through. "They're saying you hacked your dad's accounts. Elena has proof." Of course she did. She had planned everything. Every time I tried to find the truth, it gave her more reasons to make me look bad. My phone rang again. It was Dad. "Sweetheart." His voice was soft and worried. "We need to talk about what's been going on." "Dad, whatever she told you, I've seen the evidence, sweetheart," Dad said. "The accounts, your behavior, the accusations. Losing your mom was hard, but this isn't the way to deal with it." "But it's not about Mom," I yelled, but I could tell that's exactly what Elena wanted him to think, that I was just a sad, angry daughter making up stories. Dad kept talking. "Come home. There's a great therapist that Elena knows. You can get help." I hung up and slid down the wall, feeling lost. She had won. Everything I tried to do to prove the truth had just made me look crazier. I stared at my phone. Elena had taken everything. My money, my credibility, my dad's trust. The next day was a holiday party. I wore Mom's old black dress. Elena was standing by the fireplace, wearing Mom's necklace. Milo stood beside me, looking uncomfortable in his borrowed suit. "Are you sure about this?" he asked, handing me a USB drive. "Did you bring what I asked for?" I took it. "You've got the security footage from the cafe, right?" He nodded. "Of course not," he said. I didn't. I stepped closer to Elena. "Let's talk about the bills. You told Dad he was still paying medical bills for Mom. Did you ever actually see them?" I asked. Dad was quiet. "The bills are handled automatically," he said slowly. "I've got proof," I said. "From the hospital. All the bills were paid before Mom died. The money's been going somewhere else." Elena stepped forward, grabbing Dad's arm. "She's just having another episode," Elena said. "You mean like when you called the police on me yesterday?" I asked, glaring at her. The room was silent, and then I spoke again. "The police are very interested in the fraud complaints I filed this morning, especially the part where you pretended to be Dad to steal from his accounts." I told Milo to connect the USB drive to the TV. The footage from the cafe appeared. There was Elena using Dad's phone to look at his bank account while he was in the bathroom. I was protecting us. Elena yelled, but her voice was cracking. I was building a future for us. I stared at her, and finally, I knew. This was just the beginning. While Elena was in the bathroom, she said, "You don't understand." Her voice was shaking, and she was starting to lose control. "I was trying to protect us and build a future," she said, by stealing my college money and freezing my bank accounts. I had been angry for a long time, but now I couldn't hold it back anymore. You wore my dead mother's jewelry and told Dad I was crazy, I said. Elena turned to Dad, looking scared. Wyatt, I can explain everything, she begged. The money is still there. Dad interrupted her with a calm but dangerous voice. You stole from my daughter. You lied about your late wife's medical bills. You tried to say our child is crazy. Elena was wearing the necklace around her neck, but it now looked like a trap. She tried to unclip it, but her hands were shaking. Keep it, I said coldly. The police will want it as evidence anyway. We heard the sound of police sirens, and Elena's face turned white. I did everything for us, she whispered, but she wasn't looking at Dad anymore. She was looking at me. You have no idea what it's like to have nothing and a need to protect yourself. I looked at her and said, You're right. I don't know what that's like, but I do know what it's like to lose everything. And now, so will you? The police entered the room and Elena slumped into a chair, her perfect life falling apart. Dad came over and stood next to me, holding my hand for the first time in years. As they led Elena away, her necklace sparkled one last time like tears. The spring came early that year. 3 months had passed since Elena was arrested, but Dad and I were still healing. I sat in Dad's garden, watching him try to fix Mom's old rose bushes. You're doing it wrong, I said, going over to help him. Mom always cut at an angle, remember? Dad handed me the pruning shears without saying anything, and we worked quietly together. Suddenly, Dad's phone buzzed. Another email from Elena's lawyer. He said, Still focused on the roses. They're offering her a deal. She has to return everything she stole plus interest, but they want to drop some of the charges so she can serve less time. He took a letter from his pocket. She wrote you a letter, he said. I stared at the envelope, remembering how Elena's beautiful hands had once held Mom's necklace. Did you read it? I asked. No. But her lawyer told me she grew up in foster care with nothing. Apparently, she's been doing the same thing for years, targeting widowed fathers with kids in college. The letter felt very heavy, almost like it wasn't just paper. That doesn't make it okay, I said. No, it doesn't, Dad agreed, touching one of Mom's roses. But it might help explain some things. My phone chimed with a new email notification. Lately, I've been getting a lot of them since the story about Elena broke. The local news loved the drama. Widow's daughter exposes stepmother's fraud. The university even put me in their alumni newsletter after I got the emergency scholarship. Milo had asked me out for coffee. Tomorrow works, I typed, surprising myself. But not at our usual cafe. I know a better place. Dad smiled at me. A real smile, like he used to, I thought. That Milo boy finally took the hint. You'll say yes, right? Dad said, He seems like a good guy. I smiled, but didn't answer yet. You know, you're your mother's daughter. You can't resist fixing broken things. I looked down at Elena's letter, still unopened. Some things can't be fixed, I said softly. No, Dad agreed. But sometimes understanding is enough. Later, I sat in my new apartment, a small place I could afford now that my college fund was back, and I worked at the cafe. I opened Elena's letter. Her handwriting was neat and elegant. Dear Lena, you remind me so much of myself when I was your age. I can see the same determination and need to protect what's yours. I thought I could control you the way I controlled everything else in my life. But I was wrong. I won't ask for your forgiveness. What I did to you, your father, and your mother is unforgivable. But I want you to know that the fear never goes away. The fear of losing everything, of going back to nothing. I thought money would fix that. I was wrong. But you're stronger than I was. You fought for your family instead of trying to replace it. Keep fighting. I folded the letter carefully and looked at my phone. Milo's number was still on the screen, waiting for my reply. Tomorrow works, I typed back, but not at our usual cafe. I know a better place. There was a garden center down the street with a small coffee shop. Mom used to take me there when I was little. I'd pick out seeds for the garden. I had grown up there, but Dad had forgotten about it. I hadn't. Maybe it was time to plant something new. My phone buzzed again, this time with a message from Olivia asking if I was still coming to her graduation party next week. Another message from Dad asked, "Found Mom's gardening journal. Want to help me restart her butterfly garden?" I looked around my small apartment at the plants in every window and the picture of Mom and me in her garden. I smiled. Yes, I typed back to both messages. Some things can't be fixed, but other things can grow back stronger if you know how to take care of them. Mom taught me that long before Elena tried to make me forget. I put the letter in my desk drawer next to my scholarship certificate and the cafe security footage. These weren't reminders of what I had lost, but of what I had fought to keep. Tomorrow, I'd plant roses with Dad. But tonight, I had my own seeds to plant. If this story resonated with you or sparked new thoughts, I'd love to hear your perspective. Please share your insights in the comments below. Be sure to like and subscribe to stay connected and never miss our upcoming videos. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.